Today on Homeworthy, we're spending the day in Brooklyn, New York. Famous for its rich artistic culture and charming historic neighborhoods, Brooklyn provides a retreat from the energetic hustle and bustle of the city. Join us as we tour a DIY-inspired home in Bedstuy, a vibrant, art-filled home in Brooklyn Heights, and a bright, modern family home in downtown Brooklyn. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Come on in, I've been waiting for you. Hey, Homeworthy. I'm Kim White, and welcome to my apartment in Bedstuy, Brooklyn.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Kim White. I am a makeup artist and interior designer here in Bedstuy, Brooklyn. Apartment hunting in New York is stressful, anxiety-inducing. It will make your hair fall out. I landed in this apartment because of my good friend Holly. She was like, take a look at this studio apartment upstairs. I was in the middle of a breakup. I needed somewhere to go and quickly. I moved upstairs in the studio and lived there for, oh gosh, a little bit shy of 3 years. The pandemic hit and my neighbor who was living in this unit moved away. I snapped into action and moved downstairs. So I currently live on the ground level, the garden level. Everything is set up in a railroad concept, so all of the rooms are adjoining, and it's just a long trailing apartment all the way to the backyard. So welcome to my living room. This room for me was such a challenge. There's doors and windows and openings and opening. So setting it up was tricky. But one thing for certain, I was not going anywhere without my grandmother's lamp. I love starting a room with a vintage piece, and this piece has so many memories. Like, this piece got me in trouble as a kid so much. Like, if you don't get off that chain, don't pull on that chain. Like, I would get in trouble for this. Like, look, I can do it now. But yes, this piece has so many memories. My grandmother is no longer with us, so having it in my home, it just feels like that moment where I can honor her, and I just think back to my childhood for sure with this piece. I do love incorporating other vintage pieces as well. Cherish and Facebook Marketplace are great resources for that. Like, I got these candlesticks off of Cherish. Honestly, the color palette for this space started with these tones. I knew that I wanted it to be neutral but warm. A full-size sofa would eat up too much real estate, so I opted for these banquettes. My dear friend Holly is a jack of all trades. She created these custom slipcovers for the banquettes to make them fit seamlessly in a living room setting. But the sneaky bit of it and the way that you use space in New York, like to the optimum premium effect, it is also storage. No linen closet, no problem. So seasonally, I like to change the space around, and I love a good throw. And this season, I'm working with the leather shag rug as a throw. It adds a chunky bit of texture and movement just to kind of pull the space together in a heavy sizable way. I just love it. And I love the smell of it too. Like leather in the home, smells delicious. So moving from a studio, I had no furniture. And now like I have a full apartment. So I was on Facebook Marketplace like a mad woman, just hunting. And I found some really gorgeous pieces like this credenza here. Like it has a history. It is old enough to still be on wheels. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know, like this is an old piece and it came with two. Like I have this one and a chest of drawers. And I think I paid like $95 for the set. So I was so excited. I've been growing coleus in the apartment all summer long. Now, it's a nice way to bring in like little touches of color. And as you can see, like this one is growing just from a grow light. They are splendid plants, easy to take care of. The only issue that I've noticed so far is fungus gnats, like gnats everywhere. But like I can deal with that. Look at how pretty this guy is. When I moved in, there was like a little heater fireplace that was sitting here and I tucked it in this area for a good while. Recently, I was on Facebook Marketplace again and I found a larger fireplace unit and I went all the way to, I don't know where. I got it all the way home and I dropped it. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, but I got to the door and dropped it. Glass was everywhere. So here we are. We're making it work. But I do love it. It lends itself to that like cozy, warm aesthetic that just makes a house a home for me. The fireplace, I decided to paint it black just to really make it heavy and ground this area. Who does a lot of ceramics. This is a vintage piece from Cherish that I just absolutely loved. The lady lounging on the fireplace, like there's nothing more indicative of who I am, like just laid back chill, like a lady chilling, that's me. This table has been in my life for a very long time. This was purchased on a shopping spree with my mother. I think we were at TJ Maxx in Dayton, Ohio, and we had set the table aside in the break room. And this woman was like following us around the store, like kind of like putting everything that we laid our hands on in her cart. And she tried to take my table. My mother was not having that. So as you can see, my mom won, and I've had this table in my life for a very, very long time. What I do love about it is underneath the construction allows for me to tuck, like I'll tuck like blankets and some towels if need be up underneath in the hollows of this table. So it's a functional piece for me, and I've restyled it a million different ways. I have styled, restyled, and styled it again. Another sentimental piece for me, it's a very simple, sturdy option, is this chair. This was my first commercial client. I had the opportunity to style a company called Sit On It's showroom here in New York. That, like I said, that was my first commercial space that I did interiors for. And I took this chair home as a souvenir, and it's one of those things where I know, like when you walk in, you don't know, like, oh, this is baby's first commercial job. But it was. This season, I really went deep and rich with a dark rug. This is from Ruggables. It's their Architectural Digest collection. And I love the way that it pulls like that, the weight of the room down a bit and just makes it rich and elegant. So thank you, Ruggables, for this beautiful rug, and it just ties seamlessly with my living space, my kitchen, my outdoor space. It's just a rich addition that I love. So I don't have a bunch of space for art in this apartment, But I did incorporate a couple of images from my makeup artistry into the artwork on the space. This is a photo shoot that I did makeup for, and the photographer was like, hey, hop in, you guys have twin hair. And here we are. I saved the images, framed them, and they worked very nicely, and also give me that sentimental feeling of, you know, this is work that I've done, this is who I am, this is a memory. I am one of those people who has had the chance to do what I love. I recognized at a very early age that beautiful things made me comfortable. Beautiful spaces, beautiful aesthetic, beautiful clothing, beautiful makeup. And that is, I turned that, my love for beauty, into a career in makeup. So I grew up in Ohio. I started doing makeup for my friends and family. Eventually, I started getting hired to do makeup, and I became a makeup artist. A lot of people don't recognize that Ohio has a bunch of large brands like Procter & Gamble and Limited Brands were very big when I lived there, and those were my clients. So being a little bit feisty, I noticed that I'd be on set and they'd fly someone in from LA or New York. And I remember I was on a job. This like changed the whole trajectory of my life. I was on a job and I happened to be standing like right next to the production table. And I saw the invoice for the hair person. They made triple the money that I was making. They were flown in and housed. So I was like, oh, if I'm here, then I'm not gonna mess up the shoot. But I think I need to go there to start to make money. And that is how I ended up moving. I moved to Miami first, and then I made my way to New York. All because of this invoice that I saw sitting on a desk. I was like, you will not best me. So I've been doing makeup here professionally ever since. It's been an exciting ride. Like, makeup has afforded me the opportunity to travel the world. I worked on a travel show. I've had an opportunity to work in daytime television, on, you know, series, fashion shows, Broadway, all of those things. Like, makeup has put me in rooms that I would never have had entry into. And for that, I am very grateful. So when I moved into the apartment, this bathroom, it's tiny, and it was just jam-packed together. Like, the toilet was here, the sink was here, and the tub was there. And I was like, this is just not functional. So I asked, hey, what if we let the tub go and do a larger shower stall? And that way the sink can have a little bit of breathing room, a little countertop. You're not like jammed up, like brushing your teeth with like a foot on the toilet, basically. He allowed me to make some edits to this space, and it has a much better flow. And as you notice, like, there's a trend in removing the tub and having just a shower. Many hotels are doing that. And, you know, I do have a portable bathtub for those moments when I just want to like soak. So I feel like I'm having the best of both worlds. My daily life, I still have like counter space and I can get ready, but I don't have a luxury bathtub, but I do have a functioning soaking tub. When I moved in, I was like, okay, this area, what am I going to use it for? Let's just throw some shelves up. And I like the way that they turned out. I've had a fascination with skin and beauty and bodies for a very long time. No secret, I'm a makeup artist, so of course, who's surprised? But over the years, friends and family have allowed me to turn a lens on them. And I started to take like little small intimate photos. This was taken in, oh gosh, Cambodia. That's me. I love an ankle bracelet moment. Also, some of my travels are reflected in, just what's around in the space. Like for instance, a trip to Mexico. I got those 2 pressed tin pieces and I just love them. Like they've made their way through many an apartment. So plants in the bathroom are a yes for me. Like plants purify the air and I'm all about that. Like I've gone so far to spoil my plants and to make sure that they're healthy by incorporating grow lights on all of these shelves so that they can grow and be healthy. So yes, I'm a plants in the person. I'm a plants in the bathroom type person. So when you're here, like I said, I'm a makeup artist, so I really appreciate the human form, but particularly hands. I work with my hands and I love handmade objects. So you'll find a couple of hands, my handiwork and handmade things all around my home. What I loved about this building when I moved in, even though my studio was tiny, I really loved the whole Brooklyn aesthetic. This is a beautiful brownstone, exactly what Brooklyn is known for. It has such a community feel. So living here was everything that I needed at that moment. And the pandemic hit and here I am, trucking it downstairs to a bigger unit, thank goodness. Classic garden apartment. I'm from Ohio and space is a bit more plentiful in Ohio. So when I moved to New York, I had to pare down quite a bit. So you have to be very intentional about how you decorate a space in New York. Immediately, I knew that in this apartment, I wanted to have a place for family and friends to gather for dinner, like a proper dinner table. So one of my areas, I call it the lounge. It houses my dining table, my bar is in there, my laundry room is in there, but that is where we can have a proper meal, like family style meal. So I really wanted to have a place dedicated for dining. And I was able to eke out a dining area slash lounge right in this space here. Again, I used the storage banquettes. So there's a bunch of light bulbs and tools and all of the inner workings of a home right up underneath there. But friends and family can come over and join me for a meal and we can all sit here and have a proper dinner. There's obviously banquette seating here, but I do have some sneaky storage behind these banquettes where I pull out a couple of folding chairs and have even more seating for friends and family. I love this area. It doesn't get a lot of light, so I wanted it to have reflection to ping the light around the room. I used, much like upstairs in my studio apartment, I used a bit of the gold contact paper just to like reflect the light this way. And then I took on a mirror project that almost killed me. Like I was in here sucking on fumes for days and weeks, and actually, to be honest, for months. But I'm so happy with how these antiqued mirrors turned out. This was a labor of love. I was scraping and painting and sponging, and I put some up. I didn't like them, had to take them down and start all over again. It wore me out, but I have to say it was well worth it because now that they're here, it gives such a warm reflection in this area that it just makes this space that was kind of dead because there is no window in this area. It gives it life and hominess, and it makes you want to sit down and have a meal. I love how this room turned out, and it is, of course, my handiwork. I painted these mirrors by hand. Friends can come in, they make themselves at home, grab some wine, have a seat. And if it's one of those nights, I'll invite them to Club Cavados. In fact, you're invited to Club Cavados too. So right behind these doors is what I call Club Cavados. And it is not only my bar area, you know, we can make a cocktail, all of the things, but it also stores my clothes. In New York, you have to use every inch of space. So like there's sweaters and bags and belts all in these drawers here. So what is that saying? It's a party in the front, business in the back. Well, that's what's happening here in Club Calvados. I don't know if you're familiar. Calvados is one of my favorite brandies, French brandies. So I painted this bar area just to mimic, actually this is Calvados right here. I painted the bar in the same tones, just that warm, earthy, beautiful, smooth feeling of Calvados like is reflected all throughout here. I took a chance and I used fine paints of Europe. Now, I don't know if you've painted much, and I absolutely hate painting, but fine paints of Europe makes a beautiful lacquer finish. This is my first go at it. So there is a learning curve and I will try it again, but for a first run, I'm pleased with how it looks. And it also bounces light in this room where there is no window. So even the doors and the ceiling of the bar bounce the light to create that cozy environment. So I recently went to Minnesota and got certified as a 3M installer. 3M makes these beautiful architectural films called Dynoc, and this is actually one of those films. The films are great in a rental situation because you can save a bit of money on like the actual like buying slate for this, and I moved 2 years from now, might be cost prohibitive, but 3M's architectural films like make this area a lot more luxurious at a fraction of the cost. So I'm very excited to put my certification into use very, very soon. So the lighting in this room was important. This is also a Facebook Marketplace find. Like, you can find some great things on Marketplace. Do not poo-poo Marketplace. There are so many great things. This was a $25 purchase, and the woman gave me two. So I have another one. It's not as beautiful as this one, but I have another one just this size in my storage. But yes, it was the perfect addition to a space like this. My dining table was my landlord's father's coffee table. It was in the basement here, and he was like, I know that you'll do something with this. So he gave me the table. It was on like a tree stump at first. So I took it apart and I put it on a swivel base. I'm still working through the process of this, but it does make it a lot easier for friends and I to get seated and move around. So we never have to like pull the table out for someone to enter. We can kind of just swivel the table, which has been like amazing for holidays. Making sure to utilize all the space in this apartment. Behind, we have extra seating, hiding in plain sight. And it makes for a great dinner party. It's the perfect place to entertain. And right next to the dining room is my bedroom. So this is the smallest room in the apartment. It also has no windows. It's like the perfect cave for sleeping. Like I totally hibernate in here just like a bear for sure. The bed provides a lot of storage. It is on hydraulics. It's the IKEA Malm bed, I believe. And up underneath are all of my out of season clothing and a few comforters and all of that tucked away right here. When I moved into the apartment, these closets had doors, but in order to use a queen size bed in the space, I needed to remove the doors and replace them with curtains. So I've done that just so that I can utilize the curtains without having it bump into my bed. And right at the end of the bed, you'll see I've had this trunk. I used it upstairs in my studio apartment as a coffee table. Up there, it also held my jewelry. It still does. So many years ago, a trip to Mexico, I saw this headboard by Casamity. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. So I purchased a silver one that I had for, I don't know, like 10 years. And I realized, oh, they make it in a different colorway. They make a gold version. So I reached out to the company. I sold my silver one and replaced it with the gold one. That's how much I love this headboard. I bought it twice. But it's just such a conversation piece. And again, I love handmade things, and the hand craftsmanship of all of this detail really speaks to me. So I'm sure that I'll have this one for just as long. It really warms up this space. And again, when you're in these dark situations where there are no windows, the idea is to bounce the light around, and this headboard does exactly that. Just like my childhood, I've really enjoyed dressing my dresser. It's a functional space as well. I have all of my perfumes here. Like, I love fragrance. I absolutely love to smell good. I've been wearing perfume since I can remember. This is the perfect place for them. And the mirror behind kind of mimics the antiqued mirror of the lounge. It has that little edge work. So I feel like they kind of just tie in together as like a cohesive design throughout the apartment. It has like a bit of a flow. So when I was on the hunt for furniture, this piece, along with the piece in the living room, were a pair, and it has worked perfectly because it holds so much of my clothing. Like, so many sweaters, so many socks, lingerie, everything in here. It's the perfect addition to this tiny, tiny bedroom. So looking back in retrospect, I was that little girl who found comfort in making my room and any area that I was in cozy. Decorating my bedroom or even just decorating my dresser gave me comfort, safety, and a little bit of agency. So as you mature, like, I never let that go. Each apartment, every home, even boyfriend's home, I needed to make myself comfortable in. I know that's like going too far in some ways, but your bathroom's a mess. Let's get it together. So I found myself like, being open to helping people improve their space, like beautify their space, making things more comfy and cozy and functional. Okay, so right off of the bedroom is my office / spare bedroom / workout room. This is a very hard working room. I work on the computer here. Friends and family spend the night here. And I also work out in this room. This room does triple duty. Right away when you walk in, here's another opportunity that I had to put the lens on friends and family, and also a self-portrait. So I'm very happy with how the warmth of that kind of set the vibe and tone of this room. This is a northern exposure, so it doesn't get a lot of light in this room. I just honored that by painting it black. Since it is so dark and heavy, having a faux fireplace in this little library area really leans into the cozy vibes of the space. Tucked away, right next to that, you'll find hard working weights for when I want to work out and pump a little bit of iron. It's all there, tucked away behind those baskets. I do love riding my bike. I go through bouts. Like sometimes I ride it frequently and then other times I fall off. But right now I'm on. If you're on, find me on Peloton app and let's ride together. One of my favorite workouts is to rebound. And I find that when my rebounder is out, I do it more frequently. So with that in mind, I had it upholstered. So you enter the room and you see this beautiful ottoman, right? Well, it is also my trampoline. So like this is me in the mornings working out here. It's one of my favorite workouts, truly. I like to just like hop on the trampoline every now and then. It like helps me like clear my thoughts or think through something. It's one of those things where you can like get up and it makes you feel invigorated. So having this in the center of the room is a true health benefit for me. Stress relieving, all of those things right here in the center. And when I'm done, it's the perfect place for friends and family to kick up our feet and watch a little bit of television. So I've had this chest for a good while now. I bought it back when chat rooms were a thing and I was searching for furniture. I'd never been to Morocco and I was kind of like in this Moroccan chat room. And I met a woman there who was like, oh yes, I have all of this beautiful furniture. And she started sending pictures and this was one of the pieces. And I purchased it from her. And again, it's one of those things that I've styled in a bunch of different ways. And it has followed me to a bunch of different apartments. And it's a piece, a statement piece that I plan to keep for an eternity. So the heart of every home is the kitchen. And when I moved into this unit, the kitchen it had seen better days. My landlord was very gracious and offered me the opportunity to design this kitchen and utilize the space how I saw fit. So immediately we took down a single row of cabinets and took them all the way to the ceiling. The ceilings are relatively low. Like, I mean, you can see I can touch them, but taking it to the ceiling makes this room look a lot more expansive. So I wrapped the cabinets around a corner and I used a couple of medicine cabinets actually to finish off the cabinets in this area. And as you can see, like they're very shallow, but they hold quite a bit of objects in there, like my teacups and different teas and whatnot. I also added some shelving for storage, but also, you know, to give the kitchen a bit of a vibe. Of course, I have, you know, my cake plates and little tchotchkes here and there. It's like, I love ducks. There's a duck in my life and I kind of follow that throughout my home also. I said I'm sentimental. I'm very, very sentimental. And these people know who they are when they're reflected in the space. But yeah, people are represented all around my home. Up on the shelves, a few cookbooks. My dish towels are here. My mom's old Vision cookware. I recently had her send that to me. Like, there was something about looking at things boil in Vision's cookware when I was a kid. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I need that here. So she sent that recently and I use it. I'm happy to have it. And it means something to me. It's like the story of my childhood in some ways. Recently, I started to dabble a bit with AI. I hopped on and created this art piece here on the shelf, really and truly just to hide the cords to my lighting. But it turned out so nice. I'm happy to have it there. I'm calling it Fruits of My Labor. And it's actually on my website. There's a free digital download. So if you're interested, hop on kimwhitestyle.com and you can find it there and download it for yourself if you like. What really set this kitchen off, I'd have to say, is the wallpaper on the cabinets. And it is a design. I'm a huge fan of Copacabana stone. And I knew that that wasn't an investment that I would want to make in a rental, but I did want to have that look. So I created this wallpaper to mimic that stone. And as you can see, I wrapped all of my cabinets in it, and it gives this kitchen a lot of movement and personality. I really love the way that it turned out. And again, it is one of those things that I have on my website. This one is for purchase, but if you're interested, you can definitely grab this wallpaper as well. As you saw, like, my dining area is a little bit dark and I wanted to follow the sun. I bought this console and this like little stool so that I could sit at the window and have my breakfast, have my coffee when the weather isn't nice outside, so that, you know, so I can, when the weather isn't such that I can go outside. I like to sit in this window and just like feel the sun on my on my face. For a very long time, before I found just the right piece, I had stretched out an ironing board and I had a little stepping stool, and I was just sitting at the ironing board eating breakfast. My friends were cracking up like, why is that iron in your kitchen? It was all just to get a feeling of what the size constraints were in this space without making it feel too tight or too cramped, because I mean, I can stretch my arms out and we're pretty much taking up the width of this whole kitchen. It's not a very big kitchen. It's not very tall and it's not very wide. So each piece has to be carefully picked so that you don't feel overwhelmed in the space. And this one, I'd looked for a while for root tables, but you could never get one that was guaranteed that my legs could slide up underneath. This one from Front Gate is a cast replica of the root tables, so I knew what I was ordering and I knew that my legs would slide up underneath, and it has been a great piece for me. It has served me well. Accompanied by a stool, which of course has more storage. Yeah, it's been a great place for me to just like take my coffee in the morning and gather my thoughts. The kitchen it's packed. I like to eat and I like to cook, so all of these cabinets are chock full of stuff. And I've made sure to arrange them in a way that is also functional. Like my bread boxes in here, all of my spices. I didn't have a pantry and I kept racking my brain like, how can I get a pantry in here? I need some more storage space for food. And it finally hit me to use the space behind the door. So here we are, behind the door storage, double wide. So here we have all of my pantry goods, that all of my dry goods here on these shelves that are attached to the wall, and the doors are, I found on Facebook Marketplace again. The doors were added later, but the shelves are attached to the wall, and it gives me like a shallow amount of space, but it holds so much. And that wasn't enough. So I started thinking again, like, how can I get even more? Let's push over more to the door. So I added a few more shelves in this area too. For all of my canned goods. Like I said, I love to cook, I love to eat, and I wanted to be able to make this space functional for me. So there's storage behind the door here, but when you open the door, this is my favorite part of this apartment, the outdoor space. So as I continue to grow and have the opportunity to express myself, whether it's through makeup or designing interiors, I recognize that I want to share it with a broader audience. So I am going to start a YouTube channel up again, and that way I can film some of the projects that I'm doing and share them and hopefully inspire some of you guys out there with what I'm doing and why. The why, the how, and of course, make it functional and fabulous. The kitchen. And what I love about this area, since you have such a great view of the yard, the two spaces mingle together. So it's just an extension of the way that I want to live, like right out of the window. So one of my favorite parts of the apartment is this outdoor space. I snuggle up in this corner and have my morning coffee. It is the one place in the yard that has a bit of privacy. Like, it's kind of tucked up under here, so they don't see me, they don't see me, they don't see me. And I come out here in my PJs and sit and have coffee in the morning. When I first moved in, all of this was just rubble. So immediately I knew that I wanted to have a seating area. So we carved out a path and built a deck at the end of the yard. It's the perfect place to have it because there's a tree line there, and in the spring, the beautiful magnolia flowers overhang atop of the deck, and it's just like the perfect situation. It's very lovely. But like I said, the yard was filled with garbage, so it seemed like mulch was my best and most affordable option. So I mulched the yard. My friend Denise, she's a scrappy one. She brought over all of this pachysandra, and over the last couple of years that I've been here, it has filled in nicely. And as you see, it's about to flower. She brought the ferns as well, just loaded them up in a truck and we planted them. Even the baby maple. And all of that stuff is growing so nicely now. And each year I try to make a couple of different additions. Some have worked, some have not. Like, I bought a ton of seeds and none of them grew. This year I bought some honeysuckle. It didn't do so great. The ivy, a few sweet potato plants, some jasmine. But yes, trying to create a zen, comfortable moment for myself in the middle of this urban environment. It's a perfect place to grab a book, to just chill out. In the summer, the evenings, you know, the string lights come on and we're out here, we're having conversation, playing music, having a cocktail. It's a great place to lounge, and you forget that you are right in the middle of a bustling city. It's my own oasis back here, and I'm really, really grateful for it. One of the things that inspired me in the design of this space is to bring the same feelings and the same vibe, the same energy from inside outdoors. So I'm test running, you know, a bunch of different materials to see if they can handle the elements. Like, for instance, this marble table. It's been out here now for a couple of years. This year I sealed it and it's been handling the elements nicely, but there's a movement towards outdoors feeling like outdoor living rooms. And this feels like you're inside my home, honestly. One of the things that is key when you live in New York is to try your best to avoid rats. Now, this is a serious conversation. So when we built this deck, we did a trench method. So all around the perimeter of the deck is a buried chicken wire. So you go about a foot deeper than the actual deck with the chicken wire so that rats don't take domicile up underneath your deck. Obviously, it's New York. You're gonna see a rat or two, but that right there. Like if rats were like constantly moving back and forth in this yard, I wouldn't even be out here. So just that's key when you're really thinking about designing an outdoor space here in New York. My super, who is lovely, it came out here and I'm like, I want the deck to have an organic feel to it. So we placed the planks just as you would uniformly. And then later on, we went in and gave it the curves and movement so that this area wouldn't feel so blocky. As a renter, I wanted to make sure that cost-wise, I wasn't spending too much. So I opted for all solar lighting out here. So the string lights are solar, all of the spotlights are solar as well. Each of them does have a switch, so they can be turned off. I know that has been mentioned in the past. You can turn off a solar light, just so you know. That's a cost-effective way of getting lighting in a situation when you don't have electricity to run towards it. Home for me is a place where I can totally decompress. It is a place where I recharge. It's the place where I get my best ideas. I feel serene. I feel complete. Yeah, home it's my nest.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're in Brooklyn, New York, visiting the home of Christine Barbarick. Christine spent 15 years as a co-founder of Refinery 29, helping build it into a global leader in women's content and digital storytelling. In 2022, she launched A Tiny Apartment, a weekly newsletter that invites readers to rethink their space and style, with a focus on secondhand pieces. Christine lives with her family in a vibrant home filled with artwork from her daughter and memorable pieces from different stages of her life. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Christine. Welcome to my home in Brooklyn. Come on in, I'd love to show you around. We are in Brooklyn Heights, which is a historic neighborhood in Brooklyn and in New York. And we have lived here, my partner and I, Kevin, moved in here about 11 years ago. And I really always dreamed of moving to Brooklyn Heights. I mean, even when I lived in Manhattan and I had no money and I lived in a teeny tiny studio. So yes, that's where we are. And you can actually see you can't see it today, but you can see the East River when the leaves start to fall off of the trees in the fall. I would say that my style is really a hybrid of modern things and very nostalgic sort of vintage things. I'm a very sentimental person and I get attached to stories and histories and the whole legacy of a thing, and it really imbues it with a kind of beauty that's so hard to describe, and all I can say is that I know it when I see it. And so it's balancing that with a lot of clean lines, simplicity, the roots of modernism, and using really simple basic materials, but adding all these beautiful textures and artisanal kinds of patterns and artworks to the mix. So it's kind of a balance of both. Welcome to my living room. Because we live in a pretty small apartment, it's 750 square feet. Our living room is kind of like our whole apartment, or really the sort of main central hub of where we live, where we hang out, where we eat. It's connected to our dining area. And we have this really huge industrial skylight, which was one of the reasons why I fell in love with this apartment when we found it. When we came to the open house, it was actually covered with shade and you couldn't see it during the open house. And I asked if they could move the shade so I could see it, and instantly fell in love with all of the natural light. And it fades everything, so be warned, when you love natural light, it really does do a tune on your fabrics and textiles. I mean, look at how much this is faded, but we love it so much. Our sofa's from Montauk. And it's really just a mix of art and different textiles and vintage things. Like this table was thrifted, that little table in the corner. My daughter loves to read and sit underneath the stairs. We built these stairs to go up to what used to be a storage loft, and we turned it into a really, really tiny office. And it works really great for my husband and I, who both work from home. He's an architect and I'm a writer. These two pieces are from an artist named Allison Fox. She lives in California, and I love her work so much. This is a painting by Ryan Hicksenbach. He's a New York painter and a New York artist. That's a Noguchi lamp. This is a sculpture my friend Rebecca gave me. Her mom was a sculptor, and that was part of her collection. She used to be my boss when I was an editor at Gourmet magazine, and she gave that to me from her mother's collection. This was found at a sidewalk tag sale. This was found at a flea market. This is my friend Rebecca's mother's. Her name was Toba, and she was a potter. This is a collage that I made a long time ago. These are photographs that my daughter took. And then this is a really great story. I love finding things on the street, not to keep for myself sometimes, but I like to document it and talk about it on social media, and just so people keep their eyes open when they're out walking and commuting. You don't have to take everything, but to appreciate things that have been discarded is really special to me. And I found this lamp on the sidewalk. It's by Dennis Vibert, V-I-B-E-R-T, from Maine, and he was a ceramicist, and he made these really beautiful lamps, and it totally works. And I had to get a new shade for it, but I think it's beautiful. And it's pretty rare. So yeah, I think it's really special. This is a great story. This is actually a vintage file cabinet. I had originally bought it at an antique store in Rochester. It was really cheap, for my husband for his studio someday, and we loved it so much. And so I keep a lot of barware in here. I love that it's really industrial, but it's also really practical. Keep some favorite books here. I like to make sure that there's a lot of books around, that in case my daughter wants to grab one and look through it. And we just keep some of our bar stuff here, and it's just a nice anchoring focal point in our apartment. Again, because it's small, it sort of became this unified space that kind of captures the whole style of the apartment. I love this so much. This is a vintage serigraph, I believe, by an artist named Alan Darkangelo. And you can see it's numbered 16 out of 30, 1965. I found it for $10 in a thrift store like 30 years ago when I was really young and I had no money. I just saw it and I thought it was beautiful. It was in an old cruddy frame and I had it reframed. And he was a really important pop artist, and I just love it so much. And for some reason, even because of what I just said about how much things fade in this apartment, this is not faded, but I think it's just beautiful. And I love seeing it every day when I come and go from our apartment. My daughter loves making art. I think she really shares my appreciation for ephemera. And so whenever we do things like this is from an exhibition from a long time ago at the Costume Institute, and whenever she makes a piece of art, like I loved this strange collage that she made. I just thought it was beautiful. This is a card that was sent to us by friends of ours, and I don't know, it's just always changing, and I think it's really almost like a piece of collage in itself. People really love it when they come over and they see it. It's a little bit crazy, but I think it's beautiful. I did a story in my newsletter, which again is called A Tiny Apartment, about how to create like a little library. I think sometimes bookshelves can be really, it's almost like they become invisible because they're so packed with stuff and books, and And I just wanted it to feel a little bit like a display case, but also a place where I could find my favorite books. We still have a lot of books upstairs in the loft, but these are kind of the ones that I reference a lot. It has a lot of found objects. This is also a piece of really, really old pottery that I found on a sidewalk not too long ago. And I found this on the sidewalk too, which I think is really beautiful. Look how pretty that is. Like no chips or anything. And somebody just put it out for the trash. So it's just a place to collect really special things. And we have some family photographs here. These are Chase chrome candlesticks from probably the 70s, and I love them. So this painting is really special. I'm gonna take it out, and it's by Toshihisa Yoda. And the Yoda family are a son, the mother, and the father. And this is Toshihisa's, and they live in Soho, and they're all artists, and they're all working artists, and their work is magnificent. Each of them does a very, very different kind of style. But there's a painting by Yuko, she's the mother, and his that I really want to add to my collection. I just think they're incredible. And they're the family of Yoda artists. The other thing that I think is fun is like this. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I love like when you get something shipped to you and it comes with like weird cardboard that's like sculpted sometimes, and sometimes I keep them because I just think they look beautiful and maybe someday I'll paint them. And it doesn't look like a cassette, like an old, I mean, maybe I'm too old or people are gonna be too young, they won't know what that is, but I just love them and I think they're really beautiful. And I like that my daughter can appreciate just like ordinary household things and look at them in an artful way. I think that kind of appreciation is really important. At least it is to me. My friend Liz is obsessed with this hack. It was not intended to be a hack. This is a scrap of Block Shop Textiles it's two sisters that own Block Shop Textiles in Los Angeles. I love their work so much. You know, we do love to watch TV as a family, and you know, I think it's really important to have that touchstone, but I don't want to see it every day. So we just like cover it with, you know, a piece of fabric. But I have lots of fabrics. I'm always like changing out art too. So like you can see actually there's like a bunch of textiles and different things here. So I might like cover it with this textile, or I have another one here. These are like, so I'm always like changing things around. I like to have lots of different kind of objects and sort of visuals that I love that you can just change around. And it's really handy to have that in a small space because it refreshes it without any kind of construction or big purchases, but it just makes it feel kind of like fresh. So I would love to show you my dining room, which is connected to my living room, and it's right here. And really the main event of our dining room is this table, which I don't know how well you can see it, but it was designed by my friend Noah Phillips of the design studio Foreign National. And it was because this space in front of this window, when we renovated our apartment, this was a really tiny window and it had like two little doors that I guess it was supposed to, at one point, to overlook the river. But it was really dangerous, so we actually had it replaced with a picture window. But for some reason, because of the close proximity of our living room and the dining room, we needed a certain width that allowed us to pull it out, and we have seats on the other side. There's stools that we tuck under when we have people, friends or family over for dinner. And I just could not find the right dimensions for this space, so Noah and I worked together to develop a mood board for this. A lot of it was inspired by Charlotte Perriand, an architect and designer that worked a lot with Le Corbusier, and we created this table. So a lot of it is centered around the fact that it has two pedestals, which make it easier to move chairs around it and add more seating. And then these we had made with Stitch Room, and I love, this is the newest one that we just had made, and it's, I don't know if you can see it, but it's just a regular standard poof but it's made with this really special Paul Smith Maharam fabric that I love so much. And they move around really easily. They're comfortable. My daughter can sit on them. They're not precious. It's a really amazing table that is functional, but it also looks like art to me. And it's almost like a piece of sculpture that I love seeing every day. And lots of people have different things on their dining tables, like fresh fruit or flowers. For some reason, I always have fresh tomatoes on our table, and I always have markers because my daughter loves making art all the time. She's going to be 6 in October. So I usually keep a box of notebooks and, just something small with lots of art supplies in it. It's usually either here on the corner of the table or it's tucked on this end chair. And so whenever she's here, if she's, having breakfast or something, she always wants to draw. To be honest, keeping the markers there and the pencils, it makes me and my husband want to draw too. So for some reason, having them there and having them easily accessible makes us want to use them all the time, which is really fun. It's probably why we have so much stuff everywhere. But yeah, we love our dining room. I mean, it is really a magical place to sit and have tea or sit with a friend, or sometimes if it's, to have a change of space from the upstairs office to come down here with my laptop and write and look out the window. It doesn't feel like a small apartment at all. It feels really expansive and beautiful. I did a reel about finding this Alvar Aalto stool on the sidewalk. I was walking home from school, picking up my daughter, and I saw it down the block. It was on the top of a pile of trash, and there was a doorman walking in and out, and he was organizing the trash. I guess someone had moved out and left it, and it still has like the Alvar Aalto sticker on it, but Alvar Aalto is like one of my favorite architects, and my husband's as well. We went to Finland and saw a lot of his buildings when we were in Helsinki. So to have like an original Alvar Aalto stool that we just found on the street is unbelievable. And it's very comfortable too. It's like his classics, it's one of his classic stools. I'd love to show you the kitchen. Like everything else, it's kind of connected to the rest of the apartment. First of all, I love this Donna Wilson mug. She makes beautiful ceramics. She's based in London. Oh, and these are Alvar Aalto stools too. I forgot to mention these. When we moved into this apartment, there was nothing here, and I think it was sort of an unexpected move to have a concrete sort of bar made. My husband found this 3rd generation family out in Bay Ridge that make all this incredible concrete stuff. And they made this for us. We got to go out there and watch them mix different proportions to get the right color and the right texture. It was really, really fun to do that with them. And it's a really wonderful place to gather with friends, to have coffee in the morning. My husband really loves working here. Having a small kitchen isn't for everybody. We can't keep all of our stuff out, but I also don't like to have all my stuff away either, because that's not really high functioning for us. Like we have a rice cooker, we have an air fryer, my Bodum tea kettle is really important to me. I found these pendant lamps on eBay like 20 years ago before I even had a home, and they're old Rolleiflex. I think it's Rolleiflex, I think that's how you say it, but I love them so much. And when we were doing construction on our apartment, one of the contractors like pulled them out of a box that we had had in storage, and they were still kind of grimy, and he loved them so much. He took a toothbrush and he cleaned them for us because he was so captivated by them, which I thought was very sweet. But I think it's a real working kitchen. So we have a lot of stuff out that we use all the time, but I try not to have too much stuff out. It still has like a mix of like some artwork and, like this is a pepper grinder from, like it actually works. And I can't remember who the arts and crafts artist is who made it, and it doesn't have the signature on it, but isn't it pretty? I think to have household objects that are really just useful but beautiful to look at is kind of special. So yeah, this is my kitchen. It's small, but it works. Our house is not precious. I think it's beautiful, but it's important, especially now that we have a child. It's like I want her to feel like she has input in how we design it. And even though I have a very strong vision for the space that I live in and that I love, but using tape, it's like, the kind of tape we use, my husband gets it at the hardware store. It doesn't leave any marks, and it's just a way for us to change up what we're looking at in a different pastiche of images. Like this is another drawing that she did that I just think is really special and cool. And, when she create something new or we do something together, we'll add it. Sometimes we'll take pieces down and we'll put them away. And I think it's just nice to use spaces that you see every day in ways that maybe you wouldn't think of. It's not just for the refrigerator, which funnily enough, we don't have as much artwork on the refrigerator, but yeah, it's just like another kind of place to create memories, I guess. We have all really small appliances. We have a Miele dishwasher. It's the smallest dishwasher they actually make. And this is a Liebherr, I think it's a Liebherr, Liebherr. It's also the smallest refrigerator and freezer, which actually still feels kind of substantial. And because my husband, who's an architect, he has a small firm called Baxter Projects. There were two things. We didn't want a lot of overhead cabinets that can make a small space feel really bulky, can sort of make the ceiling even feel lower. So we didn't have a lot of those. And he put custom covers on all of our appliances just to make it look more seamless and a little bit lighter. And it really helped. Although we do have some chipping and stuff, we need to have it repainted, but who cares? It's just life, right? Do I have a green thumb? I would say I am a very intuitive plant person. If something requires any kind of very specialized care, it will immediately die in our stead. I just repotted this fig tree. It was really not doing well at all because we had never repotted it from when we got it, when we moved in here. It was like literally doing a renovation in our house. It took like a full day. My friend Cecilia, once when she came over and she sat on the sofa and she was looking at some of the plants, she said that it felt like Los Angeles or Laurel Canyon in the 70s, or what she would imagine that would have felt like with the sunlight and the plants, and it just feels kind of earthy, but cool. So yeah, I like plants. Let's go to the bedroom, but on the way, this hallway right here is pretty special because it was kind of a dead space when we moved in. My husband cut out well, first of all, his closet is here. You'd never even know it was here. We made the hallway a little bit narrower so we could have some hidden storage in here. This is where we keep our coats, and this is his closet. And even though we took some space away from the two bedrooms, my daughter's bedroom and our bedroom, he made the flow so much more open and pleasant. Like, I didn't realize sometimes when you have less space, if it's better organized, it actually feels more spacious, and he's really, really good at that. So I love the hallway. This is a piece of work that I have from Tom Francis, who is an art professor at Savannah College of Art and Design, and it's called Dollars and Cents, and it's been here since we moved in, and I love it so much. It just makes me really happy. Now we could talk about our bedroom. We're talking about a 750 square foot apartment. But because it's on the top floor of the building, we have skylights in all the rooms. This is a gigantic skylight for a bedroom, but we do have a shade that we close at night. And it's pretty small. I mean, I think this room is about 70 square feet or 80 square feet, but my husband created a really beautiful closet for me, and we have storage above, which is awesome. And I just love it. I find it so soothing, and we try not to have too much clutter here. We didn't have room for all my shoes in the closet, so we created this tower that's tucked away in what would have been just like a lost corner. And it's also one of the things in our apartment when we have friends come over, they're always like, "Oh my God, I love your shoe tower." And then, I don't know about you, but I kind of hate dressers. They always seem kind of like wonky or old-fashioned, or they don't hold enough stuff. So we created these custom cabinets with a local carpenter. It made a huge difference because we could make them a little bit bigger but a little bit less deep, so they fit this space really well. And I like that they kind of flow into the wall. I also really love an accent chair, even in a small space. I feel like everyone needs a spot to just chill out and get away from your family sometimes, or when things just feel kind of overwhelming or exhausting. And I actually really love coming in here and having a cup of tea and closing the door. And there's always going to be a mix of artwork. This is an old Andy Warhol poster that we had framed. This is a collage that I also found on the sidewalk in Brooklyn Heights, and I love it. I think it's really beautiful. And it's the coziest spot in our apartment. My daughter loves coming in here and watching a movie with me or reading together. It's pretty special. I have a thing for vintage quilts. This is one of them. And I found this. You can actually see the edges are really frayed. I bought it at an antique store, and it actually was the quilt that the owner of the store had in her childhood bedroom in the Midwest. And I couldn't believe that she was selling it. She just seemed like someone that wanted somebody to appreciate this quilt that she had. So I hand washed it when we brought it home, and it just is, I think it's beautiful. I mean, I really struggled with whether or not to keep it on the bed or hang it up on a wall as a textile, but we didn't even have a wall that was big enough to accommodate it, so it's on our bed. Yeah, I love a quilt. I always have, you can actually see I have a couple more quilts down here, and here's more fabric swatches. Sometimes I put spare fabric swatches on the foot of the bed. I think it's something I love to look for in thrift stores and antique stores, is fabric remnants. You can do so many things with them as tablecloths for outdoor tables, or if you're just having a friend over for coffee, it's just to make things look a little bit different and cool is fun. This is from a collage that my friend Suzanne Lagassa, she's the creative director at Dwell magazine. She and her daughter made it for me and my daughter. This is a drawing that my 5-year-old daughter did of our countertop, the concrete countertop, and she drew everything on the countertop, including the bag of our cat treats, which I thought is hilarious. This is one of her drawings. This is a note from my dear friend Dree. I love Yoko Ono. This is an original photograph of George Harrison, but I have an old 1980s paparazzi photograph of Yoko Ono that I had framed. I love her so much. I mean, can you tell I love Yoko? And this is a dog named Juno. It was my first foster dog. And the woman who adopted Juno from me when I was fostering her, she's an artist that lives in Brooklyn Heights. Her name is Janet Zweig. And she was another reason why we moved here, because she became a really dear friend, and she's still our dear friend. Juno passed away 2 years ago, which was really heartbreaking, but also such a lifetime to have, just lived nearby her. And anyway, I love her, so I always keep a picture of her there. I got this lamp at Brimfield, and it was another thing where I had to find a shade that fit it, and I love it. It's really beautiful. Lamps is also something that I find very, very hard to find. A lot of new lamps just look really cheap and yucky, and they don't actually have really nice light. This one is perfect. It's really perfect. Because we don't have a lot of space, I like to use my closet doors as kind of styling opportunities, and sometimes I just like to pull out things like this Marc Jacobs dress that a friend actually just borrowed for a photo shoot. I think it's beautiful, and I don't want it to sit in the closet where people can't really see it. So this is a Blanca blazer, and this is just a vintage bag. So I'll just change them up sometimes. It gives me new outfit ideas. Sometimes I get into a rut like everybody does. And I think using your closet door as a kind of a decorating opportunity is fun. In the wintertime too, because we don't have a ton of closet space, and I love a coat. I love statement coats. I'll actually put a few coats on these hooks so I have just more variety and I can keep them out. I have one of them over here. I had my husband put this secret hook over here where I keep a lot of my vintage, like vintage that I don't necessarily want to be hidden. But I don't necessarily use it all the time. But I have, like, this is a gorgeous dress that my friend Tia Chibani designed when she used to do women's wear. Isn't it amazing? But I don't want it to be in a closet, so I really love having it just somewhere where I can see a peek of it. It just makes me really happy. So if you have beautiful clothes, or even just like 3 pieces of beautiful clothes, or a great bag. This is old La Florandel. You know, I just like to have it out so, I don't know, you can appreciate it and you don't forget that you have it. You know what I mean? Sometimes I forget what I have. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one. Hidden storage areas are very, very handy. I think in a small space, looking at every corner as an opportunity to either display something. Like, I didn't even notice this. I guess my daughter put that up. Isn't that hilarious? I didn't even notice it until now. Yeah, so I think trying to always look for new opportunities to see your home in a new way is a big part of my newsletter, so people can appreciate their spaces and really get the most out of them, even if they're small or awkward or temporary. That's kind of the basis of my newsletter. And what I love writing about the most is, like, how do we make our spaces a really true reflection of ourselves and the kind of lives that we want. So right next door to our bedroom is my daughter's bedroom, which is officially, other than the bathroom, the smallest room in the house. It started out as a guest room. My daughter wasn't born when we bought the apartment, and one of my favorite things about her room is the fact that we painted it this really dark, it's almost like navy blue, charcoal gray. It almost looks black sometimes. And we wanted the guest room to really feel soothing and cozy and safe, and really kind of building on this idea that it's tiny, so we wanted it to feel almost womb-like. And we didn't change it when it became her bedroom, because I just had a feeling that she would sleep well here, and she always has. So I definitely encourage you, if you have a really tiny room, to consider painting it a darker color. And also, we used Faro and Ball. I think this is Railings. I think that's the color. Or Downpipe. I can't remember which one it is. But Faro and Ball uses a lot of natural materials like clay in their formulations. I believe it's clay. So when light comes through at different times, it almost looks, sometimes it looks a little greener, sometimes it looks a little bluer. And I just love it. So the paint color is a really big part of what makes this room special. And I love that my husband built these custom cabinets for our laundry room. So it's like a little secret laundry room. You know, we have like a linen closet in here, we have a little laundry hamper, and then we have a little bit more winter storage up here. This is a nugget that my daughter will pull out when she has friends over and they're playing. So it's small, but it's really efficient, and it's almost like being on a train car. We actually found this West Elm Kids bed that matched the custom cabinets that we already had in here for her. This used to be her changing table when she was a baby, and this fit perfectly in this nook, so it really does feel like when we're laying in her bed and reading before she goes to sleep at night, and this overlooks our street, and it feels like you're actually in a train. It's wild. And then this is I love this painting so much. That's me and my daughter. It's a portrait that my friend Milo Porter is a LA-based painter. She did it for us, and I think it's really beautiful. Tons of books. The other thing that I think is handy, I don't know how this looks. It could be a little bit messy, so bear with me. Behind the door, we put in some pegboards, so we had a little bit more storage for my daughter's clothes and dresses and things like that. It's also great, so she has things at her eye level and also at her disposal, so she can grab things and she can dress herself and she can experiment with her clothes and she can see them, and sometimes we'll move them all around because, again, it's like having those visual cues is really something that she seems to love. And so I try to encourage it wherever I can, and looking at her clothes more as like these colorful moments. And she really appreciates textiles too, like I do. So it's kind of a nice little secret storage area. So let's head over to our bathroom. It's the only bathroom in our home. So when we renovated the apartment, my husband made the bathroom a little bit bigger, again, cutting into some of our other living area just to make this room feel more substantial and more luxurious. We found the deepest soaking tub we could, because taking baths is a huge part of my daily life and my mental health. So we made the bathtub area really beautiful and kind of spa-like. And the floors have radiant heat, so in the winter when it's really cold, we have a little temperature thermostat here. We can actually make the floor really warm. And sometimes if my husband gets up before me, he'll turn it on. So when I get up and go to the bathroom, it's like really toasty in here. These are Donna Wilson. Again, she just does such a beautiful job with textiles and patterns and abstract colors. And so these are her towels, and these are both vintage bathrobes. And yeah, I try not to have too much stuff out so it feels really functional and beautiful, but you know, almost transporting in a way. It feels really soothing. It doesn't have a window in it, which at first I thought was kind of creepy. I mean, everyone needs like a window in a bathroom, but we have a really great vent, and I don't know, it just makes it really, it's very soothing and calming in here. Sometimes I'll come in here and meditate, and I actually think it would be pretty cool to actually record a podcast in here because it's very quiet. So yeah, that's our bathroom. The one bathroom that is like the greatest bathroom ever. So the last little bit of our apartment is the loft office, which again used to be a storage area. And my husband had like the genius idea to turn it into this little working nook. You can't actually stand fully upright up there. And I think the dream is to pop the roof eventually and add a little bit more height to it. But it works really well, and it's a wonderful place to work and write. So come on up. It's definitely a nook. And it's also a really wonderful place to read under this skylight, which we had put in. And there's a vintage Danish lounge chair here. And I have my whole mood board here, which I love. But yeah, this is where I work and write. And my husband's desk is over there. It's a little bit messy, so we're probably not going to look at it right now. But it's a pretty, you know, as home offices go, it's pretty wonderful. And it works really well. I always wanted to be an editor and a writer, you know, from the time I was really little. I've had several professional experiences. I worked at the New Yorker as an assistant. I worked at Gourmet Magazine as an editor. It was the first place I became an editor. Helped my friend John McDonald. He had founded this magazine called City, and I became his first editor. And that was incredible. And then starting Refinery in 2005 with 3 other co-founders was really, at the dawn of the internet as we know it today, was really extraordinary. I started this newsletter, A Tiny Apartment, in 2022, 2022. And it's interesting that it's sort of going back to the beginning of the internet and I guess blogging and writing again and doing things on my own with a small team. My friend Landon helps me as an editor and a creative director, and it's been really fortifying to relearn how to be a writer and also how to create a newsletter that I hope is really inspiring and resourceful and feels additive in people's lives and not like more garbage. So building and growing this newsletter, A Tiny Apartment, is really what I'm super passionate about now, and really helping to draw more attention to this idea that our spaces are really a reflection of our lives and what we want to create, and you know, how we actually take care of them and tend to them has so much to do with our style and vice versa. And I really love that small spaces can have this very expansive kind of impact in our lives, especially when we pay more attention to them. I think that because I use my desk every single day. It's really, it has such a palpable energy to it. So I try to burn incense up here. I have this wonderful spray by Sangra de Fruta. This one is jasmine, and it's just really nice to just like spray it up here to make the air feel fresh. And it's kind of like my cue to myself that I'm about to work. And I have a journal, and I just make sure that it's a really inspiring space, that it's not just about work, but when I come here, I'm gonna feel inspired, I'm gonna feel motivated, I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna have some new ideas. So making it as fun and moving as it is a productive workspace is really important to me. I think that's why having a dream board is like, I'm always changing things around and taking things down and putting them back up, and it just almost like, it's almost like a physical manifestation of my brain, and it's like cleaning out your brain pretty regularly. Home means safety and a sense of belonging, and it also means the freedom to express myself and a safe space to experiment and take risks, and it's kind of my own personal laboratory to continually discover who I am and what I want to create in the world. That's what my home is to me. Thanks, Homeworthy, for coming over to see my apartment. I'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Trevor. And
This is Eric. Welcome to our home in Brooklyn. We'd love to show you around. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name's Emily Sumner. I am an influencer and a creative and technical design consultant for my own consultancy. This is Mr. Eric Sumner, and he doesn't have a job yet. So
Not yet, but we'll get there. My name is Trevor Sumner. I'm a CEO and entrepreneur doing retail tech, computer vision, and AI startups. And this is our dog, Roxy, who is a sweet love and frisbee dog and just brings us joy all day long.
also doesn't have a job, so we got to work on that too.
Frisbee's
wearing a job.
You catch a frisbee in your mouth. Let's see how that goes. I mean, she's talented.
So we are in downtown Brooklyn in New York, and how would I describe our aesthetic? I would say that it is eclectic, modern, feels very at home, and very focused on art and bringing kind of interesting moments to life. Our home has evolved, and there's definitely been an evolution over the years. So we lived in a 600 square foot apartment, like 600 square foot on a good day, before we bought this place, and we didn't really know how to decorate it, so we just moved that furniture from that 600 square foot apartment into what is, I think, 1,700 square feet?
Yeah.
1,800 square feet. And it looked like Honey, I Shrunk Your Furniture. A good friend of ours is Christian Siriano, the fashion designer. And he came over for a dinner party, and he looked at me and he was like, "What are we doing with this apartment?" And I was like, "I don't know what we're doing. I'm spatially challenged."
And he started yelling at me, and he said, "Trevor, give me your credit card right now." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so he was generous enough with his time and creativity to help us guide a vision and the evolution for it.
Yeah. So we started decorating pre-COVID, had it all laid out, and then I don't know, maybe 6 weeks before I had a baby, he was like, "I want to like zhuzh it like just a little bit before the baby comes," and by zhuzh he meant bring in like 7 new pieces of furniture. So 6 weeks right before giving birth, like we did like a new like revamp of the apartment.
Thank you, Christian.
So this is the kitchen area and Trevor's favorite room in the house. So I'm gonna let you tell them all about your favorite room.
Absolutely. So the thing mandate for picking a home was an open kitchen, because I don't want to be off in some room slaving over the stove, creating magical creations for others, just alone, not being able to talk to anybody. So we have an island that we've extended out with some beautiful stone that has, kind of waterfall features. We have an integrated wine fridge where we have wine that is a little too expensive for us to feel like drinking sometimes. We've got obviously a stove, and while this is kind of very organized, we've got lots of storage space all over for all my little doodads and technologies. I've got blow torches and sous vides, and obviously my Vitamix and various different things that I use along the way.
We actually redesigned part of this kitchen since we bought the apartment. Because the countertop cracked, it actually gave us the opportunity to redo it in something that was more our aesthetic and our design. And so we actually extended the island from the original design. The original design started here and ended here. We actually are getting another, 48 inches of counter space by increasing the size of the island. I will tell you, when we brought this slab of stone in and it got put into place, our building manager saw it and was like, there's no way that's gonna fit in the elevator. That's gonna get cut in half. It actually fit in the elevator by a miracle. And I found it really interesting. They actually brought the whole thing up and they cut the sink out in the apartment right on the terrace. So seeing it all come together in person was really cool. And I love the fact that we did 3 facings of stone on the island, so it feels like the whole thing is stone. We've got a stone kick space here, you've got one facing here, and then you have the full waterfall on this side, so you really get the full impact of the stone. I also really love that in different lights, the stone looks different colors, but because it's up against these green cabinets, it really reads like it has some green in it. So I think it pairs really nicely because we didn't touch the cabinets. These are the ones that were originally installed and designed for the apartment. And we knew that if we messed with the cabinetry, it would be way more expensive in terms of like a home renovation. So we stuck with just doing the stone rehab. We did it on the cooktop side. We actually did new slate tiles on the back of the cooktop. And then my favorite little detail was that we took the remnants of the stone and we created windowsills. So we did a new windowsill right here. We did another one right there in the kitchen. And then we found out that this wall was hollow. And so we opened it up, installed shelves using the remnants of the stone, and then made a hidden little cabinet down there, which is kind of totally inaccessible because we stick the trash can in front of it. But like New York City, you like get every inch of storage you possibly can.
So knock on those walls. You may find that you actually have some empty spaces for storage. Storage is a premium in New York.
These are the slate tiles that we use as the backsplash here. I really liked it. Originally, I thought we were going to do them as horizontal tiles. And when I showed up at home and they had been installed and they were vertical, I was a little nervous, but I will be honest, I actually think it's more modern than a horizontal kind of placement. And I think it looks really nice. And then Christian sourced a bunch of little details for the kitchen as well when he did this design for us, and found these antique cutting boards in actually, I think, a Chicago antique dealer. And I really think that they add interest to the backdrop and a little bit of texture, which is really nice.
And they're from the 1800s, so which is really kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's wild. These pendant lights I really love that Christian picked because they're very minimalist. They're Kelly Wersler, who's one of my favorite designers. I think she does amazing work. And this is actually, I think, like her diffusion slash less expensive collection. Really pretty, simple, minimalist. They almost give me like a Frank Lloyd Wright vibe, which I'm originally from Chicago, where the Frank Lloyd Wright home and studio is. So I think that's a nice little nod to home. This piece is from Driftword, which is actually the website where we got the art for our upstairs bedroom. And I think it's really interesting, has great texture. And then we added in some little details. This is a little tray from Jonathan Adler. I love the different colors. Trevor gets his pop of color.
Make it pop.
And then I love this little stone light. It's actually a rechargeable lamp that we take outside to the terrace for dinner and is completely mobile, which I think is really cool and is really pretty. And then this was actually a piece of Trevor's mom's. She had this beautiful glass collection. And so this was a little nod to his family. Although we also...
This is, my father was a fisherman. That's what we would do on our family vacations during the summer. And we would go fly fishing in Maine for brook trout. And so he had this beautiful trout that lights up. And it's, I believe, Steuben glass crystal. And so it's a reminder of family and vacations and good times, as well as cooking fish in Maine in a cabin.
Yeah, and if we're being totally honest, I think we built this shelving for that fish.
It's important to me.
We've been together for 14 years, and I have probably not really cooked in 14 years. Every once in a while I make a salad, make a really good salad.
You do make a really good salad.
But I'm just grateful that he's cooking for me all the time. And actually when we met each other, I was dating a guy who cooked for me, and he made me pasta with nothing on it. Like literally no sauce, nothing. So the bar was set real low when I met you.
And now, you know, we wake up midday and I'm like, hey, what do you want for dinner? And she will literally say things like, I feel like fish with papillote with a cauliflower puree and carrots with cumin and tahini yogurt.
And he makes it.
And sure, that's easy, no problem, let's do it. Finding a home in New York City is very daunting, as we all know. And so we looked at a lot of different types of apartments in different neighborhoods. And you know, my wife and I are both 6 foot, and I'm 6'2". She wears heels though, so she cheats.
6'5" with heels.
6'5" with heels. And so we wanted a place with tall ceilings that feels open. I think one of the challenges in New York is, you know, buying a place that makes you feel really small and enclosed. You know, we walk in New York with just tiny little slivers of light, and so we wanted lots of light, tall ceilings, a place that felt open and comfortable, and a space that we wanted to live in.
We also felt like, so we'd both lived in Manhattan while we were dating each other, and we knew that we eventually wanted to have this little one. So the intent was to find more space and to make space in our life to have a little kid. So we're gonna walk from the kitchen to the dining room. And this is a super open floor plan in the first floor of our apartment. It actually wasn't when we bought the place. This was a bedroom. So now we knock down those walls and have this very open floor plan that you see here, which, sorry, second kid, you're gonna end up rooming with the firstborn, but such is New York. We host a lot of dinner parties. We'll see how many we host now that we have a baby.
We're doing pretty well.
We're still doing pretty well. But we really wanted a big oversized table that gave the opportunity to host lots of people for dinner. It has a leaf in the center of it. I don't think we've ever taken this leaf out.
Nope.
Now that we, like, honestly, 8 people for dinner is a small dinner party for us. Usually there is every chair in the apartment at this table.
Yeah, I just love it because, you know, obviously dinner time is right around sunset, so you have the beautiful setting sun, cocktails. I think the chandelier adds a lot of joy. It's actually one of my picks, which I'm excited was like one of the real kind of design statement pieces, and it's from France and Sons. It's actually a knockoff of a very famous piece.
Yeah.
That's much more expensive, and France and Sons is great for that exact purpose. And I just, again, you know, it has a lot of kind of curves and nonlinearity to contrast the framing of the windows, and also just the music and joy of, you know, being together and eating food together. Again, that's really kind of my language of love.
Yeah. And I think the most interesting thing that people see in our dining room is this piece of art.
Yeah.
So we love having pieces from our friends in our apartment and to support friends' work. Although this friend needs no help because she has become like really well known for this series that she does called Geisha Inc. This is from Reika Nyari. And I fell in love with this piece the moment I saw it in this show that she did in New York. This is a woman who's fully tattooed, and this is truly her body. It's an absolute work of art and is beautiful. And when you walk in the apartment, it is like the first thing that you see, that and the light fixture. We like mixing, I would say, like high and low in terms of furniture. And so I like the fact that not everything has to be like a super expensive piece by any means. I think this was a West Elm purchase. I really love the little wooden cutout. It's a perfect sideboard. It does exactly what we want for this dining room. And then we mix it with, like, this is Jonathan Adler. This is a little more expensive in terms of price point, but then put it with these great velvet chairs from Wayfair. And also these are great because you can wipe them down even after a dinner party and someone spills red wine on them. It's totally fine. I love this lamp. We actually found this, well, Christian found this in an antique store in Connecticut, and is really interesting in terms of kind of like the plexiglass mixed with the brass, with the bulbs. I just love it. I think it's a great piece. This incredibly heavy stone lamp was actually found at CB2. I love this lamp, and I think that you get a lot of bang for your buck at CB2. I think that the modern aesthetic that they're doing right now is super cool, and there's a lot of CB2 in this apartment. This piece was actually made by a friend of Trevor's.
Yeah.
And so it's a nice little nod to her in our apartment.
Yeah, just a business partner of mine. His wife was an artist named Arlene, and Arlene Pachter. And again, playing with a lot of different imagery around femininity, which actually is a theme, right? You know, including the piece from Gigi in our living room.
Yeah, yeah. And I love to burn candles in the apartment. They're always going. These are actually, hopefully this isn't too hot, from a fragrance company that I work with that I really love called Diaz and Durga. And they do amazing fragrances and candles. So I like the idea that when you walk into our apartment that you get this like sensorial experience. We bought this in Greece.
In Mykonos.
In Mykonos, actually. And it's two pieces. It's a natural piece of wood. And then the artist blew this piece of glass for the wood. And I loved that it was just kind of dripping down over the wood and is this like really beautiful expression of blown glass. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think what part of what we're trying to do is, you know, obviously this is a very modern aesthetic to the bones of the apartment, but to mix with a variety of different kind of organic feels, whether it's the plants, the flowers, the art, and then the mix of wood and glass here.
Yeah.
That actually brings us to one of my favorite pieces in the living room, which is a nice little story, which is this plant right here is named Micus, the love ficus. And so when Emily and I first moved in together into that 600 square foot apartment on Union Square, we went to, where was it? Was it West Elm that we got it?
No, we got this from IKEA.
Oh, we got it from IKEA. And so it was just, you know, a tiny little ficus tree. And so we brought it home and we were like, this is our relationship ficus. It's the health of our like relationship and da-da-da-da. And the first thing that happened is it lost 95% of its leaves. It all dropped and we were just like, oh,
the relationship's over.
Like, this isn't gonna work. Like, our whole relationship is in trouble. And he's Micus, the love ficus, is now kind of flourishing, especially with all the sunlight. And
Now it's front and center.
It's front and center right in our living room, which is wonderful.
We really wanted a space that felt cozy and comfy for everyone to hang out in. We actually just rejudged the layout of the living room recently when Christian came in right before I was due and brought in some new pieces. I love these club chairs that he picked out from CB2. They're super comfy. I love this spot in the apartment. Just sitting next to the light feels really good. And then we also picked out this beautiful sculpture that's from LES collection in Soho. And I loved kind of the almost wave-like feeling that you get from the piece. And it's paired with a great little CB2 little coffee table here that is all little inlaid stone pieces and is really pretty.
And one thing I love about that sculpture is depending on what angle you look at it from, it's a face, it's a caress, it's a wave. It takes on a lot of different forms. I've spent actually quite a bit of time just looking over that sculpture and seeing different things, which is nice.
I love that. And then we actually sourced a antique coffee table for this space. And I love that it's glass, and because it doesn't really visually take up a lot of space in the room, it feels like it opens it up and really lightens up the center of the room. And then you can actually see the carpet, which I really love, which is from Jaipur Living. They actually also did the carpet that's in Eric's room upstairs. And everyone ends up just kind of like sitting and hanging out on the carpet when we have dinner parties and we do like a little cocktail hour right here. It gets well used and well loved. And then that brings us to the couch we got from Restoration Hardware. And we wanted something minimalist, easy, and long. This definitely had to be sofa doctored, which if you don't live in New York, you probably don't know what that is. But it's a service that comes and takes your couch apart so that it can fit into your apartment in New York City. So we took our brand new couch and someone came in, completely disassembled it. And
not just disassembled it, had to cut it in half in front of Emily while she gasped and said, I can't look. And so
couldn't look.
She went upstairs and then they cut it in half and then they reassembled it. And the thing I like most about this couch is it's, as you can tell from Roxy, who's napping here, it's super comfy. It's also super wide. So what this means is we can both lie together and snuggle up and watch a great movie on our Samsung Frame TV, which, by the way, I hate having a TV that's just a black kind of element on the wall. It just looks ugly, and the Samsung Frame is really minimal in its footprint and allows you to put art on it. And Klimt was always a favorite of my family and growing up, so it's nice to have it on our walls. But you can shift it up all the time.
Yeah, I think it was like an Amazon Prime Day purchase.
Yeah.
And we have it in our bedroom too, which I really love. And we have a piece above it that's from Gigi Collins. And she's a friend of Christian's that we got introduced to when we were first designing the apartment. She actually took photos of the room and then painted a piece to match our space. And I don't really know what it says about us, but there are a lot of female nude portraiture pieces in our apartment.
Terrible life for me.
But I love this piece from her. It's so beautiful, and female form is beautiful, so why not?
This is an illustrator named Hirschfield, and there's a great story about this, is that growing up in Greenwich Village, there's a nice little restaurant called the Knickerbocker Bar and Grill on 9th Street and University, and they have a variety of Hirschfields and illustrations. And in it, you can see he dedicates all his paintings to his daughter, Nina. Yeah. And so you can see Hirschfield 5. There are 5 Ninas here, so that's one Nina. There's another Nina. There's another Nina. And you got to find all 5. And we would do that as children. And one of the first really great gifts that Emily got me was a Hirschfield print, which brought me back to kind of growing up and family and things like that. So there are elements.
It's the best gift I ever gave you outside of our child.
Yes. Yes.
This little corner is just filled with like beautiful little things that we've found along the years. I love this cane chair. This is actually from France and Sons as well, where the chandelier is from. And there are all these little details. This was a vase of Trevor's mom's that we have here. This was, hilariously enough, gifted to me at my bridal shower from our friend Bianca, because she felt like it looked like a little baby Trevor. So I love that we have this here. This is another Jonathan Adler piece, which I love and I think is super cool. And depending on how you're feeling, are you like Ziggy Stardust today? You know, are you a third eye? You can have whatever you like. And because I've worked in fashion, I went to fashion design school. I have tons of art books, lots of fashion books. And so we have them kind of laid throughout the apartment. And this was a nice little place where I put a bunch of them. And then this piece we actually found at Anthropology, which interestingly enough has like really great little home decor moments. And it almost is like a nod to New York City and a black and white cookie. So it's kind of a fun little piece. So let's go on up to the second floor. And I'm gonna stop for a second. I'm gonna tell you about this piece. So we have a bunch of art from my mother-in-law in the house. Trevor's mom collected a lot of art when she was a dean at NYU and at Cooper Union. And she actually collected a lot of pieces from her students. So she really wanted to support the art of her students at both universities. This was from an artist named Peter Sallow. And it again is like female nude portraiture, consistent theme in the apartment, but I really love this piece. I love the colors. I love kind of like the washed out portions of the female form here. The hilarious thing was that she gifted this to us when we bought the apartment and we needed a large scale piece for this hallway and the staircase. We tried to get it in an Uber XL. We couldn't. We tried. We had like 3 Ubers come. It wouldn't fit in there. So Trevor took it on the subway and just hung it on his feet on the subway so it wouldn't touch the ground. And we got home and I was like, we should look up this artist and understand who he is. We looked him up and he's in the Whitney and we brought it on the subway home. So we met each other here in New York at a dinner party with mutual friends at a Sri Lankan restaurant in the East Village. We were both dating people at the time. So I guess Trevor would say at some point he decided that we were going to date each other. I did not know this at the time. And so we became friends for about a year. And on Halloween, about a year later, I happened to go home with a guy in a banana costume, and now I'm married to him.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. The reason we were at that Sri Lankan dinner is we were both interested in a club called the Urban Spelunkers, exploring abandoned buildings, underground tunnels in New York.
Things you only
stations.
do in your 20s. Or I was in my 20s, you were in your 30s.
I was in my 30s, but I'm a child at heart. And my biggest part of kind of dating advice is go do the things you love, and you'll find other people who are like-minded and love the things that you do. And that put me at a table next to Emily, and I was enchanted from the first moment we met.
Welcome to our primary bedroom and kind of our little oasis in our apartment. Finding this piece for our bedroom was kind of an interesting feat. It was a really specific length and we wanted something kind of perfectly fit for the length of this wall. And we found this, interestingly enough, at Restoration Hardware. And it has this kind of like faux shagreen finish on it. I love it. I also love the brass pulls on it. I think it's really modern and pretty and minimalist. Because it pairs well with the fact that this piece of art is not minimalist. We bought this in Cuba, actually, when we were there a number of years ago. Actually, I think right when Cuba opened up for travel for American tourists, we went that year. Found this in a gallery in, remind me where we were in Cuba.
In Havana.
In Havana, yes. And found this. We were flipping through a book of paintings there in the gallery, and there was a piece that Trevor had actually owned that was in the book, and we realized that his mom had been to the same gallery maybe 10 years before that on another trip and had bought a piece of art from this gallery. So it felt very, you know, happenstance and kind of like perfectly symbiotic that we should buy a piece while we were there from them.
And then I think what's nice about that also is that we've got all these photos from our family and our happiest moments together as a family. So
Yeah.
it all kind of ties together.
Yeah. And also, funny enough, so we bought this and we had to wire more money when we got back home because you used only cash when you were in Cuba. And so they're like, okay, no problem. It'll be $100 shipping fee. And we're like, okay, I don't know how you're going to get that to us in New York for $100. And someone just showed up with it rolled up in a sleeve and just like handed it off to Trevor in his office one day without any warning. So somehow it made it back to us in the US. And I love the kind of like pastel charcoal with Marilyn Monroe. It's a little street art-y. I love the torn edges. I think it's really cool. So welcome to our bedroom. I really love that it's a little more minimalist. My husband likes to continue saying pop of color to me while we're designing the apartment. And this room is literally the opposite of pop of color. But I love the idea that a bedroom is very relaxing, that it feels calm, and that you're not overstimulated when you're trying to go to bed. Other than the fact that the entire bedroom is glass and you do have to put blackout shades down.
And to be fair, I think, you know, the floor to ceiling provides a pop of color that's the vibrancy of New York. All the different colors of the buildings, the sunset is gorgeous, the pastels, and that, you know, kind of plays well with the art that we put on the walls. Thank you very much.
All right, well, I'm glad that you feel like the city is your pop of color.
It is.
So we kept it a little more pared down in the bedroom. The bed, I think Trevor actually found on Wayfair.
Yep.
And the nightstands, we really wanted a bird wood nightstand, and we ordered these after many failures from Restoration Hardware, actually. And the lamps that are on them are actually probably my favorite detail in this room. They are hand sculpted from Annie Lee Parker. She's based here in New York. She's an artist that does amazing work. Christian Siriano actually introduced us to her, and I think these are only 2 of 15 that she made in total. And so they feel like a special little piece here. I also really love this little corner. So this is the corner that I sit and I read in, I catch up with friends. This chair is like the most comfortable, cozy little white velvet chair. I felt a little like I was living on the edge by choosing a white velvet chair. Somehow it is still in one piece and not discolored yet, but it is super soft. I also love, it has these little like arched sides that are tufted and filled, and it's really pretty. And it kind of matches this lamp, which interestingly enough is just from Urban Outfitters Home. But I really love that the lamp mirrors the shape of the chair and really nicely kind of folds in with the background and the white framing on the windows.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges in designing a home like this is that the windows themselves create these very linear frames and right angles. And so where we try to kind of soften it up is with a lot of curvature, whether it's the furniture, whether it's the lamps, make it a little bit more softer and a nice contrast to the linearity of the windows and the framing.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Sure. I love geometry. I'm a math guy.
And then when we were trying to find a piece for above the bed, I again wanted something very relaxed and calming. This is a print from Driftwood, which takes photographers' work and makes it more accessible in terms of price point. So it's actually a printed piece and doesn't even have matting. So I think it was like maybe under $1,000, and you get a really large scale piece of art, which finding large scale art at a reasonable price point was actually quite difficult. Next, I'm going to show you the primary bathroom and the closet, which is really what you all want to see. All right, so this is the bathroom, primary bathroom. I love it because I've literally never had a window in a bathroom in New York City, which I don't know what that says about my previous apartments, but I really love that this is like the really beautiful view that I get while I'm showering. We have a single person shower in here. I love the glass, simple partition. And then I love the large mirrored kind of like wall in the bathroom and the two-person vanity. There is also like 15 people's worth of makeup hidden underneath this sink here that drives my husband crazy, but at least it's organized. I love a super organized kind of like system for makeup and skincare. I will tell you that, you know, poor Trevor has one shelf here, which I've also slightly hijacked with my curl products because he also uses them. And I am taking over this entire bathroom. But underneath the sink, I actually found these organizers on Amazon and created my own little modular kind of puzzle pieced makeup organization kit, and everything has its own little place here, and at least it looks pretty if I'm going to fill the entire bathroom with makeup. All right, here she is. So this is most definitely my favorite room in the whole apartment. So when we bought the apartment, it was a construction special. This was a shelf and a rod. And my husband gifted me this as my Valentine's Day gift the year that we bought the apartment, was to have a beautiful designed closet. So I've worked in fashion for the last, I'm gonna date myself, but I think 17 years. And so this closet is filled with things that I love and things that inspire me, things I've collected while I've traveled. And I think fashion is my expression of art and my personality to the world. And so, as you can tell, it's not minimalist. I am definitely more the maximalist kind of girl. And this is like the perfect example. So this is a bag from Schiaparelli, which is a couture house in Paris that is just kind of coming back on people's radars over the last few years. They have a new creative director that's done an amazing job, and he has a very surrealist inspiration. So this little beauty is one of my favorites. This is my first Hermes bag that I bought for myself as my little baby gift. And I love her. She is probably a little more minimalist than a lot of the collection. These are a gift that my husband gave me for Christmas one year. They are a Fendi heel that we lovingly call like the Tiki Muppets. And they are just hilarious. They don't get a lot of wear because I don't know how many outfits Tiki Muppet shoes go with, but I love them and they have to stay in the closet. I have a lot of pieces from Christian Siriano. Not surprising, he has beautiful clothes and is a good friend of mine. But I love these shoes that I have from him. They are, I think, 5 or 6 inches tall. And so these are like, this is an Uber to a party shoe. This is not the subway to the party shoe. But I love that it has almost like a little beak on it. And they're really beautiful and structural. These are probably my favorite shoe of all. These are a Prada relaunch, and I wanted these shoes when they first came out, but I was an assistant designer and I made no money, so I could not afford these shoes. And I saw them when I was traveling for work in Tokyo. I think I was in Tokyo. And I went and tried to buy them, and they said, well, what size are you? And I was like, oh, I'm a 41. She was like, cool, the largest size we have is a 36. And so that was obviously not going to be my shoe. But I came home from a month of traveling for work, and Trevor had found them online in my size and had them waiting for me when I got home from my business trip, which was an example of like, he is the best husband. I could not ask for anyone better to be married to. This is actually the purse I wore for my wedding that he had made for me. And this little Fendi guy is hilarious and fits nothing, but I love her. And I actually bought this on our honeymoon when we were in Italy. One of my favorite little design features in the closet are these organized jewelry drawers. Yes, there's a lot of jewelry in here. Also, these are my Whoop bands, which I love to match to my outfits. But I love the ability to have all of my jewelry laid out. When we lived in our old apartment, I couldn't find my jewelry. It was all stuffed into like a jewelry box and I never wore it. So now that it's out and beautifully organized, I actually wear different things and play a little bit more with my jewelry. This is a random design feature that I love, but was so smart. But I put a little valet bar into the closet so that when I am getting ready, I'm traveling, I'm planning outfits, I kind of lay everything here on this rack, and it makes it super easy to plan for a trip, get outfits organized, plan for fashion week, that kind of stuff. I'm a lover of denim, so I always have all of my denim kind of folded and faced out. Also a lover of hats, so the whole top side here is all hats. And lots of gowns. I may or may not also have all of my occasion dresses in Eric's room in his closets, and I've taken over half of his closets. He doesn't need them, it's fine. If I had to pick between shoes and bags, I would say both. No, I'm kidding. Oh, I don't know. That's such a hard one. I would say bags, just because my shoes in New York get very worn. Since we're always on our feet and running around, New York City women are not kind to their shoes and they get really beaten up. And I really love my bag collection, and I love her. This is my favorite one. One of my handbag loves is Chanel. I think probably every woman loves Chanel. And there's a whole collection. This is like the 2 shelves of Chanel bags that I love. And some of them were vintage ones that I sourced. This is a little fur guy that I found. This is probably one of my favorites. We call her Franken Chanelli. This was a resort bag from years ago that is all patchworked and is on a single flap lamb kind of silhouette, but she's pretty and she's fun. This is a little Chanel backpack that is probably like my concert bag that I always go out with. I love that she's metallic. She's really cute. She's a little bit 90s and is lots of fun. And there's many more. And if my husband actually knew how many Chanel bags I had, maybe it would be a problem, but we're not going to tell him. He doesn't need to know. And then this is actually one of my other favorites. This is from Edie Parker's collaboration with Liberty London. And I love Edie Parker bags. She actually did my wedding bag. But I think this is super fun and has a little mirror on the inside of it and actually does fit your cell phone, unlike some of my purses. So right outside the bedroom, we have this little nook. You can actually also exit the apartment on this floor. There's a second exterior door, which is great when you're traveling, you're rolling your suitcases out, what have you. But I love this little corner section because it has all sorts of kind of like textural design elements to it. Christian Siriano actually painted this for this space for us. And then we mixed it with this little kind of Art Deco cabinet. It's actually a bar cart, but I have used it. This is like shameful, but for skincare and beauty storage. So this is like all the extras that all of my friends come over to my apartment and they call me Sephora because I stock them with all of their skincare. And this was a little find from CB2 actually. And then I love this dish. This is a Jonathan Adler piece that I purchased for Trevor a couple of years ago. I love his stuff. It's fun. It's interesting. It's lighthearted. I love him as a designer. And then these were actually purchases from CB2, but I love just kind of the play with levels and textures and the pampas grass with the textural piece that Christian created. It's just like, it's a great little corner. So welcome to baby Eric's room and one of my favorite rooms in the whole house. This was originally our guest room and really like we hadn't even designed it until I got pregnant and we were really excited to make a nursery. It's filled with lots of things that are kind of sentimental to us and then mixed with little moments of fun that just feel perfect for a kid. We also wanted something that was a little bit neutral in terms of sex. It wasn't super girly or boy-ish. And I love how it turned out. It also just feels very relaxed and calming. And he kind of has the best view in the house because his view from his bedroom is the Statue of Liberty. So I can't say that that was my view from my room as a kid. So some details that I really love about the room are this rocking horse was actually my husband's from his childhood. His sister had it in Atlanta for her kids and packaged it up and shipped it here to New York when we knew that we were having a baby. And I think it's probably my favorite thing in the whole room. So another favorite thing in the room are these felted, handmade stuffed animal heads from Fiona Walker. I found them on Masonette in the US. And I just had this dream when I originally started designing the room with Christian that we were gonna do like a little stuffed animal giraffe head. And I found that, and then we just kept going from there. I have a dream that maybe we're gonna add a couple of more over time, but these three are really fun. And especially because babies love bright colors, and he's kind of in this moment where he's reacting to bright colors. I love the little pom-poms on the llama. The llama is my personal favorite. So when I told my friend Christian that I was pregnant and having a baby, he immediately wanted to help me design this room. He has also designed the entire apartment, but I was super lucky that Christian Siriano said yes to helping design this beautiful baby room. And when we originally started looking at design concepts for the room and things that would be beautiful but also geared towards a baby, we fell in love with the idea of doing this ceiling detail. So we had some painters come and they taped it out. This was actually probably the most painstaking part of the room. That and hanging this chandelier, because what you can't see is that there's actually a sprinkler head sandwiched right in the ceiling in the center of it. So when we had it hung, our building was terrified that we were going to set off the sprinklers in the whole building. That would be very bad, but we got it up there, and I actually think that the ceiling paint and the chandelier are kind of like the most beautiful parts of the room. It's also something that I've noticed now that we actually have Eric, that he looks at him every single day. Whenever I'm in here feeding him, he's constantly staring up and interacting with the ceiling, which makes me feel like we really made a great decision in that design, and is very baby friendly. We designed the room with a guest bed in here, part because we had a baby nurse for the beginning of those first few postpartum months, and also so that, you know, a grandparent could come stay with us, what have you. But we were looking for throw pillows for the bed, and I laugh because I was finding, you know, interesting ones on Crate and Barrel or what have you, and Christian was like, absolutely not, we need beautiful custom pillows for the baby's room. And so he actually had these made in his atelier, along with couture gowns. They made throw pillows for a baby's nursery. And I kind of also love this little giraffe detail. So I think this is Eric's favorite part of the room, is this cute little giraffe pillow. And it's just from Crate and Barrel Kids, but we use it for tummy time with him, and he reacts really well to the contrast colors and the textures. So the crib is actually a hand-me-down from some friends and is from Stokey. I really loved the oval design. It felt a little more organic in shape, not so kind of hard-edged. And I also really think kind of like blends really nicely into the windows, into the background, and lets you still see the view even though the crib is right in front of his windows. I know that this is like a random detail that I love, but I wanted a mattress for his crib that was really healthy and wasn't gonna off-gas like a lot of mattresses do. So we did one from Naturepedic for him, and we actually have some things for us from them in our house. And then this is like the baby room thing that every parent is obsessed with. It's a Nanit. It's like you can see your kid in HD while they're sleeping, and you can spy on them, which I do all the time. My husband will attest to. This is a little detail of mine that I wanted to have in the room, and a little nod to my family. This was my great-grandmother's quilt that my dad saved for me and passed down. So I love that this is in Eric's room. It feels really meaningful to me. And then this is probably the best breastfeeding and feeding chair that I could find. It is super comfortable. It's from Crate and Barrel Kids. It reclines, it rocks, it does all the things, has power. So when I'm sitting here feeding him, I can be on my phone if I want to be. And it's just super comfy. Apparently guys order this as their football watching chairs, which really makes me laugh. I don't know if they're ordering it in white boucle, but I did. Yes, this is Eric's room, but also we are both lovers of working out and so obsessed with our tonal that we actually left it in the baby's room, and we both work out in here. It's very New York that you are leaving your workout equipment in your baby's room, but it makes it easy to get our workouts in the middle of the day, and I can do it while he's hanging out in here with me. Home means to me sharing my space with my friends and family. So when we bought this apartment 9 years ago, I think 9 years ago, we wanted it to be a space that we shared with our friends, that we hosted dinner parties in, that we just made it feel comfortable and inviting, and a place to make memories.
Yeah, I think for me, home is a refuge, right? And it's a place where you get these little joyful moments. And so for me, it's walking down the stairs and then opening up into this big spacious room and seeing the morning kind of unfold upon you. It's being able to share that refuge with your friends and family. But just generally, you know, a place where when you get in, you just like, you kind of take a deep breath of the stresses and the pace of and metabolism of New York and say, oh, I'm home. And one of the favorite things when we first got our apartment is we would run home from work, because if we got it right, we could catch sunset, and we would open up a bottle of wine and we'd get out on our terrace and have a glass of wine with the sunset together. And that's a tradition that we still do to this day. And it's joyous to be able to share that kind of natural beauty and serenity in a New York apartment.
It's also easier now that we both work from home. So
True.
Yeah, you're home for sunset, no problem. Thanks so much for joining us in our home, Homeworthy. We loved showing you our Brooklyn apartment. Hope to see you again soon.
Come by for dinner.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.